Welcome back to another episode of War in Cali. In this episode, I'ma detail actor Danny Trejo. Danny was born on May 16, 1944 on Temple Street, a neighborhood in Los Angeles, California. Danny was often abused by his father growing up. Shortly after his birth, Danny and his family lived in San Antonio, Texas. They fled Los Angeles because his father was wanted by the police for stabbing another man. They later returned back to California and bought a home in Pacoima, where Danny would spend the rest of his childhood. Danny's life was crazy early on. He was selling drugs at 7 years old and was introduced to drugs early by his uncle, and even began smoking weed by the age of 8. Danny was first arrested at the age of 10 years old, but he experienced his first jail time at East Lake Juvenile Hall in 1956 at the age of 12. That same year, he caught his uncle using heroin. His uncle was a big influence in his life, so he was easily influenced by everything he did. So at the age of 12, Danny was doing heroin and even drinking. He was trying to be involved in everything his uncle did, but this later led to Danny overdosing at the young age of 12. Throughout his teenage years, Danny would be in and out of juvenile hall for various crimes, including things like robberies and selling drugs. This led to an adulthood of crime for Danny. Throughout the 60s and his early adulthood, Danny would be in and out of prison, and at the age of 18, after being released from youth authority, he got into an altercation with a man that led to another man being stabbed, and also his arrest. Danny soon arrived at San Quentin State Prison. He became a debt collector and also a drug dealer. While in prison, he witnessed a lot and also did a lot. He witnessed things like beatings and also murder. While in prison, Danny focused on boxing, and he became a champion in San Quentin's lightweight and welterweight divisions. Throughout his prison sentence, Danny would be sent to various prisons like Folsom, Susanville, San Quentin, and Soledad. In 1968, a prison riot happened in Soledad while he was there. Danny ended up in solitary confinement and also facing capital charges and potentially the death penalty, after it was said he hit a guard with a rock. While in solitary confinement, Danny found faith and became a member of the 12-step program. He successfully overcame his drug addiction. In July 1969, Danny was released from prison for the final and last time. He returned back to Pacoima. After being released from prison, Danny worked several odd jobs, working as a labor foreman, working in construction, working as a gardener, a salesperson, and also worked for a lawn care company. And his last job was a substance abuse counselor. Danny worked with the Western Pacific Med Corp in the 1980s and assisted them with establishing and operated sober living houses within the San Fernando Valley. He met a young man who explained that he worked as a film extra and was paid $50 per day to just stand there. Danny considered becoming a film extra, initially due to the easy money and the publicity it could afford his work with the Western Pacific Med Corp. Danny signed with an agent and would hand out his details working on film sets in the hopes of finding more opportunities to help those in need. One night, a teenage patient of Danny's called asking for assistance on a set of Runaway Train. While there, Danny was offered a job as an extra on the film's prison scene. Edward Bunker, himself a former convict at the time, and a well-respected crime author who was writing a screenplay for the film, recognized Danny, whom he had done time with at San Quentin. Bunker played the role in securing Danny as Eric Roberts' personal trainer and boxing advisor. Bunker also convinced directors to offer Danny a small acting role, asserting that Danny's personal experience of jail would provide realness to the prison drama. Following his acting debut, Danny was being typecast as prisoners in similar roles for the years to follow. By 1991, Danny had been in over 15 movies, including movies like Bulletproof, Death Wish 4, Last Hour, Marked for Death, and Guns, among many others. In 1991, Edward James Olmos originally offered Danny the role of Santana in American Me. Danny was unimpressed by the script and also his meeting with Edward James Olmos. Danny claims rumors began circulating within the Mexican Mafia that the script was taking a narrative disrespecting the Mafia and its leaders. Before Danny had a chance to attend a second meeting with Olmos, he received a call from Joe Pegleg Morgan. Morgan approved of Danny choosing Blood In, Blood Out instead of working on American Me. American Me was not approved by the Mexican Mafia, and Danny warned Edward Olmos if he followed through with the making of the movie, it could get bad for him. Danny knew a lot of Mexican Mafia members, with him growing up with them and doing stints in prison with many members. Any gang members that were involved with the movie American Me were killed off association with the movie. Danny would say he saved Edward Olmos' life from being took by the Mexican Mafia. Blood In, Blood Out would be big for Danny's career, even though the movie didn't do good in the box office. For the rest of the 90s, Danny would be booked on several shows and movies, having over 30 appearances in several roles. Some of the biggest shows and movies he played in during that time period was Baywatch, Heat, Desperado, Anaconda, NYPD Blue, From Dusk Till Dawn, Con Air, and many others. 2000s will also have a lot of success for Danny, as he played in many shows and movies, some being King of the Hill, Breaking Bad, Desperate Housewives, Spy Kids, Anchorman, Halloween, and even music videos and voice roles in video games like Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, and Def Jam Fight for New York. The 2010s on up, Danny started his own movie called Machete, and even started producing his own movies. He has had over 30 roles since then, and started going to other ventures in life, like opening up his own restaurant like Trejo Tacos, followed by Trejo's Cantina, then Trejo's Coffee and Donuts, and as of now, he's an owner of 8 restaurants. Danny has even put out a few books. Danny is now 79, and a father of 3, and a grandfather of several grandkids. He came from a rough past to come from nothing to something. He is now a success, and this is his story. This will conclude this episode. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my previous episodes. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.